Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted the number 1 would be Godzilla Kong the New Empire, number 2 would be Civil War, number 3 would be Monkey Man, number 4 would be Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and number 5 would be the first Omen. And holy shit, I can't remember the last time I got a complete 0 out of 5 of my predictions right, but here we are, 0 out of 5. And nobody else got their predictions right for this weekend. You know, a lot of you didn't have it as bad as me doing a 0, but a lot of you, predicted movies similar to me, like we thought it would hold over well and still be in the top 5. There were certain movies that just did not have that good a hold, and that was kind of surprising to see. So let's just dive right on into it with number 1, a movie I, for some reason, just didn't see getting to number 1, but here it is, Civil War. For whatever reason, I think just because of like some mild controversy you hear with people acting like they know what the movie's going to be before they see it, like, oh, I don't need to see that kind of garbage, or blah, blah, blah. And judging by the cinema score, like a B-, I have not checked the Rotten Tomatoes, like, audience score or anything, but I don't know how well of a hold this is going to have. I'm not sure how well this will catch on, but at the very least, it was still able to get to number 1. The word of mouth or just genuine curiosity was piqued enough with audience members. It was released in IMAX, so some people are like, yeah, I'm craving that kind of experience that might be worth it because this is A24 and Alex Garland has made some other films that, he's like a real filmmaker as opposed to like a director for hire making like a big studio movie. Please don't misunderstand, I'm not dissing on blockbusters, just certain audience members being kind of fatigued by movies that seemingly don't feel like expensive movies even though they are. So they saw this like, okay, yeah, let's give this a go, I guess. Like I said, I'm not sure how well this is going to hold over next weekend, but this is actually a really great weekend for an A24 film. We'll talk about that in just a second. But first I want to let you know it made $25 million for the 3-day weekend. Now this is on a budget of $50 million. This is A24's most expensive film. There is no worldwide total as of right now, but $25 million is not a bad start for a domestic weekend. Maybe some worldwide numbers can bump it up. I'm not sure how much more of an appeal this will have, like in overseas territories, just because this is such a America kind of movie. So it'll be interesting to see, and then also interesting to see how it holds over. But this is not a bad opening, especially considering for A24 as a company, it is the biggest wide release for them. Previously, Hereditary was their highest opening weekend with 13 million. 25 million is the new record for them, that's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? It's been 6 years since 2018, and now they finally released, because a lot of their other movies that have maybe outgrossed Hereditary, they started off in like limited release, so it took them a bit to kind of catch on. You have word of mouth spread and they expand into other theaters. This is like a wide release, first weekend it's playing in, this many theaters, and look at this. Who would have thought it would have been Civil War? Definitely not me for some reason. And this is also, I was kind of shocked to figure this out, but it kind of makes sense. It's the first time A24 was opened at number 1, not like it made a decent amount of money, but it's at number 2. I think that was Hereditary's thing. Maybe not number 2 specifically, but it was like top 5, but not number 1. This is the first time an A24 film has reached number 1, which is kind of shocking that it's been this long and finally they have one at number 1. That's crazy. That's insane to me. For the A24 list also, as far as highest grossing domestic runs, Civil War has already outgrossed Ex Machina by a couple $100,000. It now is in the top 10 highest grossing A24 domestic runs. It sits at the number 9 spot. If it gets 2 million more, it will outgross Midsummer and Moonlight and bump up a couple more. That's kind of crazy. Who would have thought this movie? Because I thought for sure this might have been one where it's like the controversy might, be the better of it or something like that. But it turns out that is not the case at all, which is kind of encouraging to see also for Alex Garland, the filmmaker. We're just going to talk about his films that he has directed. It doesn't need to be said that this is obviously his highest opening weekend, but it's, as I mentioned, it outgrossed Ex Machina by a couple $100,000, and it's outgrossed Men, the movie with Jesse Buckley from 2 years ago. It's outgrossed that already by 18 million. It now needs 7 million until it outgrosses Annihilation, and then it's his highest grossing film that he has directed, which is pretty insane. That is crazy. This movie, I thought for sure, like, I know I might sound like a broken record, I thought for sure people would try to steer clear of this just based off of like, I don't need to see no woke garbage. I saw a lot of that. Some people saying that it's like, oh, it's like the liberals' version of like Left Behind or some shit like that. And then I think the thing that maybe got to some people is that you see the movie and you realize, oh, it's like intentionally not very political. It's about a different thing. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You just kind of have to see the movie and actually engage with it. You know what I mean? And maybe that will get more people into the theater next weekend. Who knows? But I'm glad that whatever specifically worked, whether it was the marketing or just word of mouth, whatever, it got people into the theater to see an original film, got it to number one. I hope it, is able to double that $50 million budget, but breaking multiple records for the studio is not bad. Number two is Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, making $15 million, adding to a domestic total of $157 million. So it needs $11 million now until it outgrosses Skull Island. Worldwide, it is sitting at $436 million, and it's outgrossed King of the Monsters from 2019 by $53 million. Now needs $14 million until it outgrosses Godzilla vs. Kong. So there you go. Even though it was not number one like I predicted it would be, the hold is still pretty good. I think this is like exactly a 50%, like straight down the middle drop from where it was last weekend. So, obviously it already had that kind of drop off from before, but some people still clinging along. It's already, tripled this $135 million initial production budget, so they're good. And they've already announced that they're going to expand more of the Monsterverse. They've renewed Monarch, the TV show, for season 2. They're going to do more spin-off stuff, so they're really going all in on the Monsterverse still. So there you go. Godzilla vs. Kong was not a fluke. The Monsterverse lives on, baby. What might have been a fluke, though, coming into number 3, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, okay, let's just go into it. It made $5.8 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $96 million. So it's still not outgrossed Ghostbusters 2. It needs $16 million more to do so. Worldwide, it is sitting at $159 million, where it still sits behind Afterlife by $44 million. It is getting so good. It is $41 million away from finally doubling that initial production budget of $100 million, but the fact that it's taken kind of this long, it's almost been an exact month, I think, since the movie came out. Yeah, it's almost, emphasis on almost, been a month since it came out, so it's kind of like, yeah, the fact that you haven't done that yet, it's almost done. I checked IMDb, there's only like 2 other places worldwide for it to be released, and it's still not bumping it up a significant amount, I know that they were looking for something more of a significant hit compared to Afterlife, because Afterlife was like okay, we're back, we got by with a lower budget and in intake that was good enough for that. But now it's like, is it even going to outgross Afterlife worldwide or domestically? It's looking like it not, and right now with everything put together, domestically is still where most of the intake is coming from. And the fact that those numbers aren't enough also, it'd be one thing if they were relying on, one place or another to make money, whether it's here or it's China or whatever. The fact that it's not enough from where they're kind of relying on it, I don't know. I don't see this really working out in the grand scheme of that. I know that they've teased like a Ghostbusters Netflix show that's coming at some point. Good luck with that. Maybe that's where Ghostbusters is just going to be. I think that's what I even said when the movie came out a couple weeks ago, or maybe the week after. Maybe it'll do okay enough to not necessarily keep focusing on these characters or this stuff. Maybe they'll pivot to another thing. Obviously, they're showing that there is still some popularity. There is still a fan base for this. It's just they obviously have put too much money into this. That budget of $100 million, I think, is really saying. Because picture this. If they still had that $75 million budget from Afterlife, they would have just now doubled the budget, but they would have still doubled the budget. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. Is it weird that that Sony is putting all their chips onto a Ghostbusters franchise? Who knows? Number 4 is Kung Fu Panda 4, making $5.5 million, adding to a domestic total of $173 million. It still needs $42 million until it outgrosses the original film now. Worldwide, it is sitting at $423 million and needs $83 million until it outgrosses 3. So, same story. Domestically, it's inching closer to outgrossing the first movie. Worldwide, it's still yet to outgross any of the sequels, but it's still a success because cheaper budget. There's not really much more to say here. The success of the Kung Fu Panda series and then going into a 4th one was not a fluke, unlike Ghostbusters. So Godzilla and Kung Fu Panda, all good. Number 5 is Dune Part 2, another one. It wasn't just a COVID fluke success. Dune Part 2 is also good, making 4.3 million, adding to a domestic total of 272 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 683 million. 17 million away from getting to 700 million worldwide, which is pretty incredible. I mean, the fact that I don't even need to, like, keep bringing up other stats as far as, like, it needs this much to outgross this, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, it's just kind of in a good place. You don't need to hamper it down with anything else. You know, let's just keep it moving right along to number 6, which was Monkey Man. This is the thing that is kind of more interesting to talk about, is that it opened up pretty solidly last weekend, and I think I even mentioned, like, I hope some more people get a chance to go out and see it. It'd be really cool if it had a hold, because it is an original film, and the success story behind it is really cool. And, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. It made 4.1 million this weekend. Now that adds to a domestic total of 17 million. So for Monkeypaw Productions, it still needs 3 million until it outgrosses Keanu. Worldwide, it is sitting at $22 million. So for Monkeypaw, it has outgrossed Keanu by 2 million. Now needs 55 million until Candyman. It doesn't really look like or seem like it's going to make that much money back, but at the very least it has officially doubled its $10 million budget, and if we are lucky enough, we will see it get to 30 million, which means they triple it. It would be pretty cool if that happened. I didn't really, just by seeing the movie, and I know some people have said, like, you can make a couple of these, maybe. Just by seeing the movie, it's kind of like, I don't really see this being one of those, like, John Wick, or like The Beekeeper, or Extraction, any of those movies. It doesn't really fit in with those kind of like franchise movies. So it's probably fine. It's just a one and done thing. I think I was just hoping for like a bigger success though. You know what I mean? 22 million is fine. Like I said, they've already doubled their budget, which by our logic for this show, that's kind of like the basic, they did it. They're a success kind of standard. But you never know how much, you know, a movie needs, but still, it's, you know, I was hoping this would hold over well enough, but, more people came back around to see Dune Part 2 again, or Kung Fu Panda 4, which, you know, I mean, you know, Dune at least is still a good movie worth seeing, but, you know, Monkey Man, original film. And then number 7, we have kind of another drop off. We have the first Omen. Really good movie. Once again, I would like to implore anyone who has not seen it yet, please go see it. Go see it before you can't. Now, there is a little bit of a positive uptick with this. Let's just dive into it. Made 3.7 million this weekend, which adds to a domestic total of 14 million for the Omen franchise. It's still behind The Final Conflict by 6 million. Worldwide, though, we finally have a worldwide total compared to last week where we did not. It is sitting at $35 million, which is a pretty big boost, if you ask me, because when it didn't have a worldwide total last week, and it was kind of like, oh no, this movie's fucked. Is it even going to do well? Who knows? And then they released these worldwide numbers, and it's like, actually, that's not too bad, you know? For the Omen franchise, it has outgrossed The Final Conflict by 15 million and Damien Omen 2 by 11 million. Now needs 13 million until it outgrosses the original film. So it's still neat. Okay, so we've established last weekend that the budget is 30 million. They need at least 60 to double it, be considered a success. So they need 25 million more dollars, both domestic or worldwide, the combined totals, to be considered a success. I don't see it tripling it at this point in time. It would be really cool if this movie caught on and people paid attention to it and listened to the word of mouth that was being shared with them. I don't know, man. Immaculate, that's the thing about Immaculate. It's not in the top 10 right now. It did finally double that $9 million budget, and it's weird. People were talking up that one like, it's really good, actually. You know, horror fans really digging it. You should go see it. Sydney Sweeney's kind of a big name right now. And it only this weekend doubled its pretty low budget, all things considered, and it's had, you know, a pretty solid run for like a lower budget movie like that. But it's kind of like, man, I was really hoping for like a big boom, you know what I mean? I was really hoping for one with this, not compared to budget, I think, you know what I mean, is what I kind of mean in this instance. 35 million is pretty good. Hey, outgrossed Immaculate. But still, it's like, I want it to be like a clear success, not one where it's like, It is, if you look at it in a different angle, you compare it to this and you put these stipulations in, whatever. Number 8 is The Long Game, a movie that kind of came out of nowhere. It's got Dennis Quaid and Jay Hernandez. If you remember David Ayer's Suicide Squad, he's the guy in that. I don't know. It made 1.39 million this weekend. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is. There's no worldwide total to bump it up. It just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and it's not one that I saw. Let's move on to number 9, which is Shrek 2, a re-release for its anniversary, its 20th anniversary, I believe. Yeah, that's wild. Made 1.35 million this weekend, which adds to a domestic total of 442 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 936 million. So there you go. Fun little re-release kind of update for Shrek 2. I don't really have much more to add to this, though. And finally, closing out the video, number 10, Sting. A pretty fun horror movie. Not perfect or anything, but another one that I would recommend checking out. It made 1.2 million this weekend. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is, and there's no worldwide totals to bump it up either. I'm assuming, just based off of the movie that I saw, the budget is not too terribly high. So maybe 1.2 million is on the right track, but, you know, opening at number 10 is not great, and it's not like it was marketed, like, super wide or anything. But still, if you want to see a fun movie, if you got nothing going on, go ahead and check this out, because I would recommend it. It was a fun time. Although I would suggest seeing the first Omen first. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I gotta go with Abigail. I think they have to have a clear winner here. You know what I mean? I think they've marketed it well enough. I think people are kind of excited to see this. I think this might be the winner. Number 2, I think, will be the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Number 3, Civil War. Number 4, Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. And then number 5, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.